Hey, this is Brent Jensen. You're listening to No Sleep Till Sudbury, the show where we talk about the music that makes your skin vibrate. This show is brought to you by Pariah Pickups. Quality handcrafted guitar pickups made all the way down in Detroit, Rock City. Check them out at pariahpickups.com. The show is also brought to you by Storyfora. And if you are looking to create a podcast of your own but didn't know where to start, now you do. Go to storyfora.com. All right, today my guest is rock star chef Christian Pritchard. He's the executive chef at Aurora Importing, and he's a massive music fan and a buddy of mine. He's got some really fun stuff in the works right now, and he's got a lot of great music to talk about. So without any further ado, here he is, Mr. Christian Pritchard. Mr. Christian Pritchard, how are you, sir?
I'm very well.
I am very happy that you're here. You're joining me live in the studio, as it were.
Yeah, and this is cool. It's comfy and cozy.
Thank you.
Great way to spend the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can get into the bourbon a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've got a lot of stuff going on. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Of course.
First of all.
Yeah.
You and I had talked, and you may get into podcasting.
Yeah.
Doing a new thing.
Did some before.
Yeah, have done and want to do more. But you've got a lot of stuff going on. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about before you start, you're referred to as kind of a rock star chef. Is that right?
Well, I got the hair. Thank God. This is actually, I guess having shaved head right now is more the rock star hair.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I kind of like to think of us as that too, but you look at the guys now that are doing it, men and women, and it's tattoos and it's crazy hair, and it's like, I always joke around with the guys that I know that are, if you will, the older men and women, and they are the rock star chefs to me because they kind of went through all that, I mean, I always see a lot of these younger guys and I think, do you want to play an instrument or do you want to use a knife? And I do both. Like I play an instrument, you
play the bass.
Yeah. And I think rockstar chef is kind of the attitude too. I think it's kind of like, the world's your oyster, literally, to be able to do this stuff. And, I look at the Mark McEwens, the Ted Readers, the Massimo Capras, they are rock stars to me. Yeah. It's funny because when we all hang out, you think we talk about food and stuff all the time? Hell no. We're talking about music. We're talking about our families. We're talking about travel. We're talking about silly, stupid stories. And that's rock star,
Yeah.
It's living your life well. To be a rock star chef isn't, drinking 6 bottles of bourbon and doing a few lines. Those days are gone.
Right.
To be a rock star, you have to promote good life, good lifestyle, good food. That's rock star. That's rock star to me.
So that's a really good segue into something we're going to talk about today.
Sure.
And you are unique in the sense that, you've got the rockstar chef thing happening for you, but you're also a diabetic.
I am, yeah, type 2.
Yeah. And so you have got something very interesting in the works that we should talk about today.
Yeah. Well, I've had it for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's genetic code for me. I'm not some 6,000 pound dude who, and it's just as emotional as it is physical. Because you think, what a crappy thing to have for someone who cooks. But you know what? Not really. The more now that I'm sort of more facing it straight on and saying, I've got it. But I do also know how to cook. And I am a rock star chef. So I like to bring those attitudes. And why the hell not? I'm 52. Right. And why not lead my life in a proper way and acknowledge that I have this? I'm still doing development of great food items that you can eat, that other people can eat, and so can I a couple bites of. It's how you live. And I'm just decided that to be, if you will, that rock star chef, why not be the guy who deals with it? It's no different than Keith getting off of heroin. It's like I am leading my life that's still in a good way, but promoting a good way to eat. And it's funny. Most of the ways that I'm still cooking and doing stuff is Mediterranean and bloody great anyway.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm just decided that it's time for the rest of my life, as best I can. We all stumble, show people how to do great food. And it's also great food. But, if I feel like a bite of chocolate cake, sometime I'm going to have it. Funny, the other day, I was out with my son Lachlan, who you know too, and he said, Dad, can we get a coffee? And we rolled through the Tim Hortons quickly, and I got my dark roast with a little bit of cream, no problem. But I said, hey, kiddo, you want some Timbits? And, I can't help myself with, and I had 3 Timbits and my blood sugar went out of control. And I thought, holy crap. Like, for those things that I didn't really think about often, and I measure, I wear the patch on the arm and stuff, but it's incredible. I'm thinking, so I had that, but what could I have done better? And that's kind of the things that I'm looking at. Taste great, that are easy consumption, but still take care of you. And it would just be as good for you too. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to worry about that. So I want to help make products that are good for everybody. It's about living well. And that's a choice. I'm learning as I go too, even at this age. I need that development. I need those projects that excite me, that you can still screw up just like anything else, but you just keep going. It is a journey. So, it'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it
Thanks,
unfolds.
man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, Rockstar Chef, you also have some songs here that we needed to talk about, right?
I hate this part of the show now. Now that I'm starting, remember I already bitched. I already sent you one. I was like, oh, I went over this with my kids, and my son's like, Dad, you forgot this one. I was like, oh, damn it.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It truly is impossible.
And you being the bastard host and the unrockstar chef would not let me change anything. So, and I appreciate that.
I'm going to grant you, 6 songs today. I've thought about this. I've got your 5 here, and you said, hey, listen, can I add Sissy Strut as well?
Yeah.
And I said, you have to make a substitution, Christian. And you said, ugh. That was a text back to me.
I'm a jerk.
So we're going to do 6 today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Ron McLean was on, and he said, I cannot come on unless I can talk about 20 songs. And I said,
good for him.
And I said, if we did 10 and 10, would that work? If we kind of, moved it along.
Yeah.
And he said, of course.
Yeah.
And he's Ron McLean.
I love that he's such a music fan. That makes me so happy.
Christian, you would not believe.
Yeah.
If you listen to those shows, like he gets emotional. He teared up.
I love it.
Yeah. Talking
and
about
they're all
Baker
over the
Street.
map too, right? The songs.
Oh yeah. A lot of them
Wicked.
Canadian. I mean, like he's friends with Jim Cuddy. So
yeah.
He told a great story about that. Baker Street, Jerry Rafferty loves.
Oh. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Great music taste.
Yeah.
And lots of great stories too.
Yeah.
So yeah, really cool guy.
Yeah. It kind of matches up with his career and travel and being a referee, and he's from Red Deer, right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And he acts like he's from Red Deer. That's what I like about him. He has no
Really?
attitude. He's a super friendly guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just
I worked there
just
for a week.
gem.
That was interesting.
In Red Deer.
Yes.
There's a place.
Yes,
right?
it was. They were telling me, man, they're like, I remember because we stayed in this brand new hotel. I was working for Dairy Farmers of Canada. I was doing these shows across Canada.
Yeah.
We had this big stage, and there's my rock star chef, Red Deer.
There you go.
And there's this guy who was my MC, and at night we're like, what are we gonna do? And we're like, let's go downtown. And they said, don't go downtown. It's scary.
What? Oh, really? In downtown Red Deer?
We're like, we're from Toronto. Like, what are we worried about? Just don't go downtown. I don't even know. We didn't go downtown.
Downtown Red Deer.
I know.
Wow. Maybe it was just scary for them. I don't know.
I don't know.
That seems odd to me.
I thought so.
Anyway. Rockstar.
Another show.
Did you go, Rockstar?
Pardon?
Did you go?
No.
You didn't go.
Stayed at the Holiday Inn. It was so much fun. They did a water slide.
There's some Rockstar
That
stuff.
was Rockstar.
There you go. All right. Okay. So we're going to start off on your list here with Strawberry Fields Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, for me, Beatles is huge in my life. My dad was a documentarian and a DJ from the 60s. I always, Beatles are fantastic. And Strawberry Fields Forever, just to remember too, when I was learning the ins and outs of being in a recording studio, my dad had a studio, and also being able to pan the sides and hearing the one side. It was not, if you ever listen to it closely, it's not quite in time.
That's right.
And you have the voice of John Lennon on one side. And a story goes that my dad talked to George Martin, the producer, and he said, put more reverb on my voice, George, please, please. He goes, no, And it was, if you listen to it, it's very raw. And then there's the drumming on one side too. If you ever listen, you pan it out, you got all the strings on one side, and on the other side, it's like huge drums and like timpanis, and like, it's just insane. And just the creativity of that song. And I love it. You know, it's also like A Day in the Life. That was a wicked album, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And John Lennon's voice is haunting.
Yes.
And
you're right.
And remember too, when I was a kid, my dad would be going over to England to do the documentary. And in my house, I've got a picture of the Strawberry Fields, because that's where John Lennon played. It was behind his Aunt Mimi's house. And that's what Strawberry Fields was. It's an actual place. And that's what I love about a lot of Beatles stuff. It's like the stupidity of the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. That was a painting. There's just great imagery.
Penny Lane is a favorite one.
Same thing. Penny Lane, Liverpool.
You literally, it's so visual. You listen to the lyrics and you can imagine him going through town.
Yeah. And it's like beautiful and childlike, and but still incredibly weird and incredibly musical. George Martin was a genius. He really was the fifth Beatle. The stuff he put together for them, he could take their wacky ideas, and they were, and formulate it. And it's to this day, it's a stunning piece of art.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Love that song.
Agree. So do I. And it would be tough to pick just one Beatles song, right?
Oh.
I mean, that's a separate show.
Yeah.
That would be a separate series.
I'd have to pick an album. Like Tomorrow Never Knows would be right at the top for me too.
That's a tough one. I recently did a podcast on that and what the best albums were. I mean, you can't say best.
I know.
Favorite. Revolver is up there.
Oh, yeah. That's such a wicked record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love their early records too, being a bass player too. I love Paul McCartney's playing.
Yeah.
I don't play with a pick, but it's like, it's just so wicked. And I have a Hofner, and it's,
oh, do you really?
Yeah. And it's got that flat wounds, and it's just got dirt and muck.
Oh,
it's great.
Wow.
I love playing it.
Nice.
I love playing it.
That's cool. Okay. YYZ is your next pick.
Yeah. That was my gateway drug to Rush.
Really?
Yep. I'm a huge Rush fan. It's the Scarborough boy in me. And how YYZ came about was I was deeply into Duran Duran at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, love Duran Duran. Went and saw them a couple of years ago. And it's funny because then I became that grade 7 or grade 8. It was way too cool for Duran Duran.
Right.
Which just bugs me now because John Taylor's right up at the top of my list of bass players.
Do you watch his YouTube thing?
He's amazing.
Holy crap. I watch that.
He's a monster.
But he's cool. Like
he's a cool neat guy. He's a monster.
Yeah.
I think Power Station played in Niagara Falls the other day, and I was like, I wish I knew that. But
with who?
I don't know who the singer would be, if it was Michael Desbarres again, or if he's still alive. Because Robert is dead too, unfortunately.
But also, so is Tony.
And Andy, the guitar player, is not well
Taylor.
either.
Yeah.
Andy Taylor. Anyway, YYZ. So what happened was, my dad had a copy of Exit Stage Left, and I turned on that, and I heard YYZ live, and it's the one with the drum solo in it and stuff, and it just appealed to me. And then as I got older, just the travel, YYZ. Right, I always say when I land at YYZ coming home, YYZ, the Neil Peart, always a good day. Such a nerd I am, right? But just musically, it's when you hear it on the album, and Moving Pictures is such a wicked record, like Rush or not. You cannot deny the musicality. Everyone always talks about Geddy Lee and Neil Peart, but Alex Lifeson on that song is pure magic. Just the way he's got this Middle Eastern feel. And
right.
As I grow up, that song I never get sick of, ever. And musically, it's so much happening. There's no lyrics, but it's such an exciting piece of music.
The genius of that band and the little hidden kind of winks, and that's Morse code.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what YYZ is. It's the Morse code for Toronto International Airport.
Exactly.
That's how, if you know the story, they were coming in on a little small plane from Montreal when they were recording at the studio, and Neil Peart starts hearing ding 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 ding. So he starts tapping it out, and that became the rhythm of the song.
Yeah.
Genius.
There's so many Rush stories like that about these.
They're nerds and they're comical and
totally.
Yeah, and they're Canadian that way. Yeah. Toronto. I love that.
Me too. I love it. Okay, next. Wow, this is a bit of a shift. Chameleon by Herbie Hancock.
I love 70s jazz funk. That is the biggest musical stuff I do and listen to constantly. It's all Rare Groove, Blue Note, CTI Records, Herbie Hancock, Chameleon, probably one of the biggest jazz records of all time for sales, but also that dum 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 dum. How he took the synthesizer and made it a rock guitar, and how it's syncopation, how he writes in 2-note phrasing. I saw him the other day on the Grammys, 84 years old, killing it on the piano still, looking like he's in his 50s, and still a monster and one of those cool cats, you know? And his music is timeless. It sounds that time, but it's timeless. And I can listen to it, all 15 minutes of it, and be excited every single time I hear it, because it slightly moves forward in sound. It's like a movie. And then Paul Jackson, the bass player, ridiculous. Harvey Mason, drummer. Bernie Maupin, and Herbie Hancock. I mean, Herbie Hancock, I don't think there's not one thing that's not genius from eras. Cantaloupe Island from the 60s, you know, and then, of course, that album, Rocket.
Right.
And, you know,
The
and then
80s.
everyone got pissed at him later in his career because he started winning all these Grammys again. I'm like, and why not? If you've ever seen him, I remember when I was a kid, we used to go to the Montreal Jazz Festival, and we're staying right in the same hotel. It was wonderful. And they had a super group of Pat Metheny, Herbie Hancock, Jack DeJohnette, and Dave Holland on bass. I love that. Sextown album's a great album. I love Herbie Hancock.
You know, if you are a certain age and you started to get into music in the 80s, a lot of people who heard Rocket by Herbie Hancock didn't know about his jazz background and the whole thing that he did before that.
And that stuff is even heavier than Rocket. And Rocket was a heavy, because we grew up on the video by Godley and Creme. And
That's
we
right.
grew up on breakdancing. But those albums in the 70s, all of them. That's why this show sucks, because I could give you 20 songs by Grant Green, who's my favorite musician, period. He's a jazz guitar player. And he's the biggest influence on my bass playing. And he plays guitar.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's like I could talk about Frampton through Grant Green, because if you listen to Frampton Comes Alive in those records, that's Grant Green. You can hear Grant Green directly in his playing. And one time when Peter Frampton said Grant Green, I went, I knew it, you know? So it's great. Those songs are timeless to me.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm sorry I can babble on this stuff. It's just the same as food. I have the same passion for this. And it's very, very similar in ways too.
Absolutely it is.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mississippi Queen.
Oh, well, Mississippi Queen, what I love about that is just it's so powerful and so raw. And Leslie West was just such a machine of heavy in all possible ways as a human. He was massive, but played the little Les Paul Jr. through massive Marshall, like volume. But his phrasing was great too, because he held. And then you got the Canadian drummer, Corky Lang.
Yes.
This monster player. And then there's Felix Pappalardi, who produced Cream. As a bass player, he was sickening good and had a tragic life.
Oh, really?
You know, he was murdered by his wife.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
At 39 or something. But you just, you know, but that band had so much raw. That song is so raw. I love the drum part. It just, it's anthematic.
Yeah.
And it's a classic. I think it's like, you know, when, you know, everyone's like heavy metal. I'm like, to me, that's heavy metal, but it's blues and funk. You know, I know I can hear it's just the rhythm of it too. Kind of reminds me of the Joe Walsh, you know, James Gang.
That's right.
That kind of period.
It's very, very similar, actually.
Yeah. And I always remember too, when I was a kid, there was a beer commercial, and my buddies used to say, "That's you." There's this guy in a boat going nuts along the Mississippi Queen. And it's like, it kind of stayed with me, right? But, you know, it's a great song.
Yeah. Rocky Mountain Way.
Yeah.
Is the song you're probably talking about, right?
Yep. No, and also the James Gang song is Funk Number 49.
Oh, do.
Right, with the solo at the beginning.
Right. I know. That's Joe Walsh.
That's Joe Walsh. It talks like this, right? I'm an amazing player, man.
That's right.
Great stuff. He's such an unusual dude.
Oh, indeed.
But a monster guitar player.
Yes. Yes, he is, for sure. The James Gang stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the Payback? I don't know what this is.
Okay, this is where we got. Like, so the payback is James Brown. And
Okay.
it's James Brown, mid-70s, when he was way pissed at the world, way pissed.
Okay.
You know? And the payback is just, as a bass player, it's just dum dunk, dum dunk
Nice.
for like 7.5 minutes.
Like R&B.
You know, one change in it. And then there's James. And like if you listen to it, the snare sounds beautiful the whole time. Ka, ka, ba-doom, doom. And if you're into music, it's one of those things you have to go through that period of learning it and playing along to it, because it's like you feel it. And like, you know, my wife is a concert musician, will listen and go, that's so boring. But to me, it's like so hypnotic, and it really shows how you can play. And then there's James and his lyrics and how angry he is at the world, and how people have screwed him and screwed his people and it's heavy. And there's a movie called Dead Presidents, and it's the very big quintessential scene in Dead Presidents where the payback is where these guys come in that were betrayed by another gang, and they just take their billiard cues to these guys. And it's just like, and the song is just playing, and it's like very Quentin Tarantino-esque, but it was like, that stuck with me. A, for its violence and it's how horrible it was. It's like that song was speaking. You didn't have to have any script. I love James Brown, all the fun stuff. But when he got political, but it was still dirty funk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heavy, 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 and just simple, but not simple.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just love, I'm a huge James Brown fan. He always makes me want to move. I just love it.
All right. Okay, you scammer. This is your 6th song.
Yeah, I scammed this one.
You did. This is the scam song. So this is, I don't know what this is either. This is Sissy. What is Sissy Strut?
Oh, Sissy Strut, the meters.
Oh.
And that's the one that my son said, how can you, like when my daughter and my son think of me, they think of the meters.
Okay, so
Yep.
Sorry, before you go on,
sure.
I want to get this in. Lachlan, your son, is an incredible drummer.
Oh, thank you.
And you and I think that was the first conversation we had. And I'll just say this very quickly. I love when stuff like this happens. I was at a recital at school, and absolutely my daughter is a friend of Lachlan's.
Yeah, they're good friends.
And so
she's a great trumpet player.
She's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So we're at this recital, and you know, you kind of think like it's going to be okay. It's not going to wow you. You know, you clap politely, all that stuff, right? Lachlan sits down on the kid, and he's got the hair, and I'm thinking this kid's kind of cool looking, and he just nails it, like kills it. And the first thing that came to my mind was Steven Adler.
You said that to me. I know, it's interesting.
And I just thought, wow. And I was kind of waiting for him to not impress me anymore, but he just kept him. And I was like, Jesus, who is this kid?
That's
And
great.
I said to Apsley after, I said, who is the drummer? And she said, yeah, he's pretty good. It was almost like watching a man play with a bunch of kids. You know what I mean? I know that sounds really bad.
No.
But ever since, I'd seen him a bunch of times.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He's a gifted musician at his age. He's way ahead of the curve. And he's a nice kid too.
That's really the most important thing to my wife and I, is that he's a nice person, because God, you know, that industry will bite you and spit you out and treat you like garbage. And the day you're on the top, they want you on the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just as important just to be a good person. And more important than that, listen to everything.
Yeah.
Play everything. Be respectful of the other musicians you play with. You know, he's got a great pedigree because of my wife being a concert musician.
Yeah.
He can practice at any time. He'll be up till midnight sometimes practicing.
Yep.
Having a drummer practice in the house. You know, I always thought as a kid that would be, would be great. And now that I'm, hear it all the time, it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it can be much, but he loves it. And more important than anything, he loves it. It's great to see your kids excel at something that they really love.
Yeah.
I wish it was math sometimes, but I wish it was math for me too. But thanks. It's really nice.
Yeah,
it's really
great
nice.
kid.
And we got to play during COVID. And I think I told you this. My son and I, when COVID started, it was such a crappy time for all of us. My wife is a teacher, teaching at home. I was in and out of work because I had that paper I could drive in. I was doing important work.
Right.
We were developing products to keep people alive, whatever. And one night, it was right at the beginning, I think Kim and I drank way too much of wines. And everyone was confused and what the hell was going on. We had a long dinner. And Lachlan got really upset at the table. He goes, I was just starting in the rock band when they were over at the public school. I was just starting at this, and now it's all gone. And I can't do that. And I was like, you know what we can do? Let's go play online.
Oh, wow.
And every Friday night, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 weeks, I'm not kidding, we played live at the same time every Friday. It started in the house in front of the fireplace. We'd move it around the house. Bass and drums. Started as a 20-minute jam. Sounded like hell. By the end, my wife said, bring it outside. And I'm like, I don't know, neighbors are going to get annoyed. Nope, quite the opposite. People started showing up, other musicians. And then we became very big outside. And if we were saying we couldn't do a Friday, people were pissed because they wanted it. They wanted the music. Like a kid came up from down the street who's now a good friend of ours. He studied jazz. And he got on his he rolled up on his skateboard. Kid is an amazing guitar player, and he plays jazz. He brought his buddy, who's a bass player, and it's like just insane. Guy in his late 50s came up the street. He was an old R&B guy, brought his bass up. We had 3 bass players at one point. My buddy came in from Markham with his wife.
Wow.
He played keyboards and we had guitar. We called it the Social Distance Orchestra. It was
so
insane.
Cool.
And we jammed. Everything from Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath to Sissy Strut by the Meters.
Wow, good. Look at you.
Yeah.
You're an old pro at this, huh? Jeez, you took it all the way around.
Right. I know Lee Eckley. He's an old pro.
He's something.
Yeah. A great broadcaster.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Very, very talented.
But do you want me to give you a quick story on Sissy Strut?
Yes, please.
Meters.
Yes.
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay.
Place we got to celebrate for all the crap they've just gone through over the holidays. And, I know that the Super Bowl's coming up there, so I'm hoping that that's good for there. But these are a famous Louisiana band.
Yeah.
And the Meters are, 4 guys that are probably the 4 best R&B musicians as far as I'm concerned, period.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. One of them is one of the Neville brothers. He's the keyboardist. And then there's Leo Nonticelli, who's the guitar player who wrote Sissy Strut.
Okay.
He's a monster. The bass player, I forgot his name. I forget right now. Oh, George Porter Jr. And then the drummer is amongst legends among drummers. One of Lachlan's favorite drummers. His name is, I forgot his real name, but his nickname is Zigaboo Moldieste. Wow. And, they've got that French, Cajun, Italian, weird mix of Louisiana, black, white, green, yellow, orange.
Yeah.
And they bring it all to their music, and it's like the funkiest, swampiest, dirtiest, wickedest. If you don't play Sissy Strut, you're not playing music. Wow. It's one of those songs you have to play. Like the Rolling Stones would have them play at their parties.
Oh.
Paul McCartney'd have them play at the parties. Like Zigaboo ended up playing with Keith Richards for a while. Like this is how well respected these guys are. But as musicians, their records are so raw. They were the backup band for all those New Orleans groups through Toussaint and those guys that played. But then on their off time, they'd record their own album in an hour. And they're all classic songs, Cordova, and it's the soundtrack to my life. When I if I were to open a restaurant or a bar, and I've done events, and I'm like, I have to have that music playing because it makes me feel great, and I think it makes people feel great because it's just kind of like, well, what is this? And I love when people haven't heard it before, and they're like, what is this? I'm like, you know what this is? It's the Meters. It just draws you in. It's one of those groups that, like you could be hanging out probably with James Hetfield or these guys from Metallica, and they're like, oh my God, it's the Meters. Yeah. And they grew up on thrash and heavy rock, but it so brings you in that you're like, it's so real. And that's the Meters.
If that whole thing does not get you interested in the Meters, I don't know what kind of an endorsement will.
Yeah, and to me, it's also food. It goes hand in hand with food.
Yeah.
Like I love the Louisiana music. I grew up on buckwheat Zydeco.
Yeah.
And having an accordionist as a wife, it was just serendipitous and weird that I loved accordion music, and I ended up marrying a concert accordionist,
right?
Who doesn't play any of that stuff, but just loves wow, that's fun because you see a guy, leading a band, one playing the washboard, that goes into a room and they destroy it. These are the type of musicians you don't want to open for your band. I don't care who you are. They will kill you.
Yeah.
They will blow you off the stage.
Yeah.
That's the other musician I didn't mention that is that kind of monster musician is Junior Brown. And Junior Brown is a country guitarist who plays the git steel, and it's a guitar and a steel guitar together. And he's another guy that if he opened for your band, I don't care who you are, you're done. They'll blow you off stage.
So now you got your bonus already. You can't talk about any other bonuses.
Sorry.
Right?
Sorry. Can't help it. You see, you get onto this thing, it's verbal diarrhea of music. It's like it'd be just as bad if we were talking about food or restaurants or anything.
So easy to
I have
do.
nothing. I have no interest, Brent. None. Zero.
You've made that clear today. Well, listen, man, thank you so much. This has been really cool.
Yeah, real fun.
I'm so glad that you came over.
Real fun.
Yeah.
Real fun.
Yeah. And come back.
Can I be like the legend and have some more songs sometime?
Yes, indeed you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I'll think even deeper.
clearly you've got a couple things to talk about, so I'll entertain
No. I took the right meds and I'm mellow today. I'm just kidding. I'm fine. I'm just joking.
Okay, great. Thanks, you very
man.
much. Yeah. So this has been No Sleep Till Sudbury with Brent Jensen and my very special guest, Mr. Christian Pritchard. Till next time, folks, take good care.
Brent Jensen is the best-selling author of No Sleep Till Sudbury, Leftover People, and All My Favorite People Are Broken. All titles available in stores and on Amazon worldwide.